Welcome to another episode of Resortera Wave. Thank you for the watches. I think it was more than 110 viewers, the video from last week. So today I think it's pretty obvious. We're going to talk a little bit about the Liga MX, MLS Alliance, the League's Cup. Is it good? Is it bad? I think we're going to try to answer as best as we can with Oscar today. But before we move on, I want to start this show with this video in particular. Two videos, just to remember the good old times from the early 2000s. These were different times. No, Oscar, it seems so far away.
I mean, I get so sad when I watch these type of football videos.
Look how the stadium was so vivid, El Jalisco. Corona was playing.
Best football environment for me, Nayib, when I've gone to Mexico. Granted, I've only been to like 3 or 4, but best environment for me.
I mean, this was so significant times for Mexican football. 2005, when the national team was playing pretty good, with La Volpe. And meanwhile, Chivas was doing these type of things against, Boca Juniors.
How many Chivas players in this 11 was in La Volpe's final roster?
I think several.
Massa, right? Massa was there.
Yeah.
Salcido just left, or
I don't know how this one worked, because I think some of the players were with the national team and some stayed with Chivas around this time. But that was a golazo, eh? Look at that golazo. No, Reynoso was playing.
Aquí aparece el cuadro de Chivas. ¡Cabezazo! ¡Abondancieri todavía! ¡El Pato! ¡Fenomenal el Pato!
But Abondancieri he was the goalkeeper for Argentina, no? In the 2006 World Cup.
Was he? I think he was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was.
Era el 4-0 todavía. ¡Recentro! La pelota que se extiende, la busca el Bofo Bautista. Y será tiro de Cassini. Chivas que mete el centro.
Now this one's special, no? One of the greatest Mexican goals I've seen in my life.
Aquí aguanta Bautista. El disparo.
The way you did kick that thing.
Two bangers, right?
Nah. Chunks of shoot to the crowd. 4-0 Chivas at El Jalisco against Boca Juniors.
La pelota describe una parábola y se mete en la horquilla. El Pato Abondancieri, un espectador más. Pero llamó al central, le dijo lo que ha sucedido y el central...
More views, no? Look at that one.
Para no molestar al Boca Bautista y ya se viene el segundo cambio de Boca Juniors.
Boom.
En un momento se los confirmo.
Just the technical prowess of Buffalo, right?
Yeah,
I personally never rated him, but like I mean, he just had that in him at times.
Let me show you another one. Now this is with America. This one, I think Americanistas are gonna remember this one.
El capitán le cala la oreja con Cuauhtémoc. Alguien le caló la oreja a Cuauhtémoc. Toca atrás. El remate que no llega. Contra remate. Tiro la pelota y tiro a esquina. No, ahí saque de meta. Y 2. Ahí viene Núñez. Se resbala Cuauhtémoc. Sigue Cuauhtémoc. Cuauhtémoc hizo la suya. El problema es que estaba dentro del área. Y ahí, Guerrerito.
The magic of Cuauhtémoc, eh?
Ahí está Calón. Ese es el jalón y ahí comienza. Ahí comienza todo. Vamos a ver. Ovelar que se ha convertido también en figura en el partido. Va a tratar de pegar, viene Cuauhtémoc. Defiende a Zuta, viene tiro. ¡Gol! Para desconcentrarlo. Y Cuauhtémoc no pierde la concentración. Es más, espera, mira el paso que da Leal. Espera los segundos para que el arquero se...
Should also showed, I think, the what was it when he scored in Colombia too? He scored a brace, I think.
Yeah,
They won as well. That was a big.
There's many memories with Libertadores and Liga MX. And the reason I start with this is because these were times in Mexican football where I feel participating in Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana, it gave another flair to Mexican football. It put, it gained respect from South America, because South America at that time was, what happens in Mexico. They didn't think that the dominance would be so big. There, how America defeated Peñarol, one of the most historic in Uruguay, and the way that Chivas defeated Boca Juniors in Jalisco. It's sad that we no longer have that it's just gone. Now that's just a past of Mexican football that I don't think we will ever see again. And what we see now is this alliance with MLS, that it doesn't reflect the magnificence of what we just saw right now. I mean,
what could be.
What could be, I just, first of all, the League's Cup is all going to be in the U.S. There's not going to be any games in Mexico, so that takes a little bit, of it takes flavor. I think it would have been nice to see some games in Mexico and some games in the U.S. if you're going to try to do this tournament that seems competitive and that sort of doesn't showcase the fact that it's just a money grabbing tournament, because that's how I'm seeing it right now. I mean, it's the truth. And look, the thing here is it, what do you think, Oscar? Do you agree with me, or do you have a little bit of different opinion? What are your thoughts?
I think it's always good to be devil's advocate here. I definitely do agree with you in terms of, I think there is some type of element of a cash grab. Two things. I think MLS and Liga MX know that they're not going to fall to the terms of what CONMEBOL want to do, especially the way their tournament is regulated right now, Libertadores, which I'm not a big fan of, if I'm being honest. But they know they're not going to go down to their level to where they're going to fix everything, the structure of what MLS is and what Liga MX is, just so they can compete in Libertadores.
Yeah.
So what is the solution? I think they went to, who are the biggest besides South America? I think MLS and Liga MX now, they could compete with the Argentina and the Brazilian teams up down there, in my opinion. I think they could compete easily with the teams and probably win comfortably, like the teams from Peru, the teams from Uruguay. You just look at the investment of the LAFC. I mean, look at Austin. Then Liga MX, you got Monterrey, Tigres, the big boys as usual, Cruz Azul, America. So they realized, like I said, they're going to do what they can and do it the way they want it. Hence, League's Cup. The CCL a little bit too. You can see the influence of the MLS and Liga MX kind of taking control of that. But I definitely do agree with you are losing the sporting element of it.
You're losing a sporting element, and look, I understand the fact from it helps MLS teams to play Liga MX teams, but the asterisk, I think, is the Mexico teams have to come here and they compete. Like, for example, this Campeones Cup and all that stuff. That they compete, they play these matches that are significant, and there's like a so-called title on the line.
See, in that specific element, it's because of the money. I understand that. I mean,
and it makes it look like the MLS is growing because they beat a Mexican side, but it's not the reality. It's kind of fake, that stuff, because it's not like a two-way tie. It's not like here, like Chivas Boca Juniors. Chivas beat Boca Juniors in Jalisco, but they also went down to Argentina and they won the series. In the competitiveness level, those things, I'm still not seeing them. Maybe in 20 years it could possibly grow, But not now, definitely.
Yeah.
And I see that Mexico, when you see these scenes from those years, it was a very, very a big lost opportunity. Unfortunately, there was business side of things that they couldn't negotiate. TV networks who had the TV rights and all that. There's also stories saying that Mexico literally paid its way to be in this tournament in Libertadores in Sudamerica. It wasn't
The
like
logistics too, Nayib. I think that's something worth noting. I mean, remember when Tijuana first got
yeah, yeah,
involved in
yeah.
Libertadores? Teams from a lot of South American teams that were playing Tijuana at the time. I think Brazil was playing them. I forget which Brazilian team, and they had to fly all the way from all the way from Brazil to the close to like basically Cali. And imagine that flight and the logistics of it, especially if they just played on a Saturday
Yeah.
or Sunday. I don't know. I think but there's a logistics problem there too. I mean,
There
just
is, there
imagine.
is.
I think I would if my perfect like dream scenario. I would love to have both the MLS and Liga MX in the Copa Libertadores now, because like I said, I think the money that's invested in MLS now is, I mean, their infrastructure is probably they're up there now in this
Yeah,
continent
yeah,
of
yeah.
the world.
No, if you see LAFC, I do agree with you. It's a team that can compete in Liga MX, for example, and because of the squad, how deep it is. But not all teams have that
Yeah,
depth. You know what I
but
mean?
that's
It's
why.
still
I mean, that's why. And I'm not saying every team. It should be like kind of like the way the Europe does it, like the first four the best teams of their league, 3-2, depending of how we're gonna maneuver that. So whoever got the supporter shield, the first two can compete in the Libertadores. Same thing with Liga MX, the super leader, and then the campeón can compete in the Libertadores
yeah.
in that aspect. Because like I said, if every team's gonna be involved, that'll be like I said a little bit too much. But just I mean, throwing it in myself in there with imagine going to Boston to Brazil. There's a lot of logistics there too.
Yeah, yeah.
That I think there's a factor too.
And I think also someone that spoke about this week, in the recent days, it was Pio Herrera, no, and he talked a little bit about the situation of MLS and the growth of the league and where it stands, versus Liga MX, and it created some debate. So we're gonna put that video right now to watch it and see what he says, and then we'll sort of analyze a little bit if he's right or if what is our take, no, with what he tried to point out el Pío Herrera on this one.
A nivel liga ya está años luz de nosotros. La MLS le quiere ganar a Italia, le quiere ganar a España, le quiere ganar a Inglaterra. Ni siquiera voltea a ver la Liga Mexicana. En la cancha todavía me parece que competimos y ganamos varios de los partidos. Nada más que ellos tienen 30 equipos y nosotros tenemos 18. Entonces van al 2 por 1 para poder, casi para poder ganar un torneo donde te superan en cantidad. Y sigo insistiendo, qué bueno que se pueden hacer torneos así. Algunos equipos los tomarán como su pretemporada. Los partidos esos famosos amistosos que ya te los quitaron, pues los tomarás como esta pretemporada. Que son en Estados Unidos, algunos equipos que no tienen la posibilidad de ir a hacer pretemporada en Estados Unidos porque no los invitan o no tienen ese poder de convocatoria, bueno, pues les servirán. Y otros irán con la responsabilidad de seguir manteniendo a la Liga Mexicana a nivel cancha por encima de los equipos de la MLS. En ligas, sigo insistiendo, ya no hay competencia. Los que seguimos pensando en que están compitiendo somos nosotros o los medios o los directivos. Ellos ya hace años luz nos dejaron, ¿no? Ellos ya están pensando ganarle a las ligas europeas. Ya van y compran un jugador a Argentina de 20 millones, de 25 millones, van y traen jugadores de Europa que lo que cuesten, y nada más tienen 3, 4 hoy creo, jugadores franquicias. Ya que abran la liga, olvídate. O sea, pues en el poder en todos los sentidos. Una franquicia de la liga de la MLS te cuesta $100 millones. Cualquiera, la nueva. A ver, es una franquicia, quieres abrirla, te cuesta $100 millones. Y en México yo no creo que habrá 6 equipos en México que valgan más de $100 millones, o por ahí $100 millones. Los demás, la verdad es que no, esa es la realidad. Entonces, cuando ya una liga consigue eso, ya está, a pelearle a otros niveles. Y reitero, yo estoy...
When I heard the and I mean, you sent it to me. That's how I noticed it. He embellished the league too much, no? He embellished MLS
Yeah.
too much. I mean, he should also said he probably has the best European of all of North America right now, and Gignac in his team. It's like you got to say that part. I mean, to be honest, how many goals has Gignac scored since he arrived at Liga MX? Hundreds. No, he's almost there. But so that part of the story. He also his Tigres is a team that has brought some very very expensive players, 10 million and up. So here I think that's one clarification, and another one is he's also looking for the future. He knows that he's going to work in MLS at one point in his career. I mean, he doesn't have anything else to do in Liga MX. He already coached America. He coached Tigres. What is
The
next
national
for
team, he
the
already did.
national team? What is next for Piojo? To coach an MLS team. So he has to be very careful what he says. That's my opinion. That's my observation. So I think he embellished it too much, like saying, "Oh, they're seeing Europe now." I think MLS is always aspiring to beat Liga MX still. In my opinion, I mean, it was a big deal when Seattle beat Pumas, no, and now Seattle's not even in the playoffs and for the MLS Cup. So it's like it's that type of conversation of how you want to interpret and how you want to shape it. But I think Piojo with this, he just tried to embellish it too much when it's not the reality. I think it's still a long way for MLS to look at the eye to a European league, for example.
Um, I'm gonna slightly disagree with you there. I mean, I
Yeah,
definitely do get where like the sense of what he was trying to do, but in my opinion, I think he was going more in of the infrastructure and organization of MLS. And in my opinion, I think that's absolutely true.
yeah,
Like you said, on the field, we obviously compete with them still. We're right now we are the better ones, but like you said, the fact that the MLS started what 96, and they've already kind of closed, not necessarily completely closed the gap, but they're catching up, and they've done it in what almost 20 plus years.
yeah.
And
25,
Liga
I
Mex,
think that
uh,
some.
and how long has Liga Mex been around? Mexican
Yeah,
football since the early 1900s, if you want to count the beginning.
yeah,
And I think in that aspect is true. I mean, I think you would have the perfect insight because obviously, when you were in Mexico, you did it as a journalist, but you were able to go to those organizations in a sense, kind of the way they handle media, the way you were able to see some type of insight more than the average fan, more than I can
yeah,
say.
yeah.
And then you also work with the New York Red Bulls,
So I
so
saw both sides.
you tell me who's not right or wrong. That you're gonna get you're gonna I think you're gonna side with Piojo by the end of the time. You give me some
Yeah,
insight.
no, no. When it comes to when you hit the word right, when you say infrastructure, they are getting they're way ahead. I mean, you can't compare the infrastructure that perhaps Atlanta has now, Columbus, what other team really has? Seattle has a really nice one.
New York, the
The
Revs just
red.
got a new one too,
So
and
so,
Robert
so
Kraft doesn't care about soccer.
yeah, yeah. So I think in that sense, when you compare, for example, where the Red Bulls and these teams that I mentioned train every week compared to Puebla, I mean, it's a huge difference. I mean, you can see the difference, you can feel it. But tactically, and also, the way that the football is played, es más vistoso como juega Puebla. It's better how they
Oh
play.
yeah,
I mean, you ask
obviously.
Josie Altidor in his interview with the Athletic, he does mention that there are differences still in the interpretation of the game and the way that the player even reacts or acts, no? And I think you have to see there are certain positives in MLS and there's positives in Liga MX, no? The thing I think about Liga MX is that they've had so many years of power and they just don't know what to do, or they haven't been able to structure their league accordingly, no? Eliminating el ascenso y descenso, I don't know if that was a good idea, no? That I don't know if that.
But that's where they were trying to mirror the MLS because
Mm-hmm.
I mean Piojo hit the nail right ahead too. Do you remember watching that news piece where they gave the evaluation of like all MLS clubs at the time, and there was like MLS clubs that have more value than like big teams in Europe. at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, how many times have I told you that we're leaning towards more of an economic money sport with this sport of football, and Liga MX want that stability and that value worth. I mean, there's no reason Cruz Azul, America, Chivas, with the big guys, that they can't be more value than a New England Revolution, Atlanta United, based on the history and the market of people that watch the league. Like, how many people watch a Chivas game over Atlanta United game, New England Revolution game? You know what I mean? And that's just the case right now. That unfortunately.
Yeah, no, and it's I do feel that there is a tide of the American money, and how that American money is going to influence the
There's a
game of
market there
soccer.
at the end of the day. Now,
The game of football, no, how it's going to influence it. I mean, I was reading an article yesterday from El País. I think it's Alfredo Relaño, who director of Diario AS and so forth, and he just mentioned that how the influence of the American money is influencing the game now, no, and it's gonna be
in general,
for many years.
In general,
I mean,
just look at the Super League in Europe too. Remember that? It's not just over here.
So it is like you said, the as much as a romantic wants to be, because when you look at those scenes from Chivas and America, you wish that still existed.
I have to add my Cruz Azul of 2001, Nayib. I have to, because that was, in my opinion, maybe I'm a little biased, that's the team that competed the best at Libertadores, and the team that probably should have won it in 2001 out of all
isn't
the Liga
that
MX teams,
bro? But isn't that more beautiful than a League's Cup, for example?
Of course,
that, I mean,
of course. But
that's
the Liga MX too, they're not gonna bend backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To CONMEBOL. The end of the day, I went to oh man, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but I went to a soccer conference, and one of the guys that went there was an America guy. I think it was a directivo. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Yeah.
And I asked him precisely, why aren't we going into Libertadores? Why not succumb to the circumstances of the CONMEBOL when longevity? Maybe in the beginning the money won't be there, but long term it'll be there. Trust me. And he basically said it's a money issue. CONMEBOL want too much of us. Right at the end of the day, we're going to lose money. In the short term, I believe that, but long term, I think it'll benefit. I mean, you've seen the stadiums, right? Imagine a semifinal Copa Libertadores, even the Liga here in Mexico anymore. They don't even sell out anymore. You see the Azteca, it's empty.
Yeah,
the only thing that sells out is the finals now.
Yeah, no, and look, this is one of the sad realities, but with Mexico and the Mexican fan, they always see the money symbols, no, the dollar symbols. El Tri, they're gonna go to Qatar, and there's gonna be like 40,000 Mexicans, and most of those Mexicans are coming from the U.S. El Tri can sell out Jerry's World in Dallas, and not the U.S. men's national team. It's the Mexican national team that sells that. Why doesn't Jerry sign a multi-year contract with the U.S. men's national team to fill out the stadium? No. He signs a multi-year contract with the Mexican national team because there's going to be 80,000 people in there. The League's Cup, it goes into this Apple deal with MLS. MLS does this Apple deal.
I don't know.
And the League Cup goes in part of that deal. Why does the Liga MX have to sort of like give the reins of their football to the US for money, basically? The owners, Orlegui, Martinez, America with Televisa, Monterrey teams, they agree. They are the big bosses. They know that the money is going to be in the US. Will the League's Cup be a success? Maybe it will. Maybe it not. It's basically a Superliga with steroids. That's how it's looking. It's a Superliga with steroids. Like Piojo said in that same quote, is the teams might be in preseason. There's going to be other teams that are going to have the pressure because, Tigres and America have to be in the semifinals. There's no other way because they got to represent the well-being or the dominance that Mexican football has had over the U.S. for many years. And that has to be confirmed in this tournament. But there could be,
you make a point. Valid point there. Yeah,
it could be a sense of like, well, the games are going to be played in the U.S. If you play in Columbus, it's going to be all Columbus fans. one bad day and Columbus might win. Columbus has good players. I mean, I'm not, they don't have all of their plays really good, but they got a Celarrayan, they got a Cucho Hernandez who scored a lot of goals. So it's I don't know. It just deviates interpretation. It's not equal.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
make a point.
equal.
Yeah, you make a point.
It's all leaning towards MLS. It's like, all right, look, you want to compete with Liga MX? Let's make it equal, man. Like, let's go to Mexico, go to Puebla, go to Toluca, go to Torreon, and let's see there where the growth is coming. And that's beneficial for MLS as well. Here, with Liga MX teams constantly coming to the US, it seems like we're just like they're in control of everything. And the Liga MX owners and El Tri owners are always blinded by the money. The money's first, the money's first. Because at the end of the day, they see that the fan, el fanático mexicano, is always going to be present in Philadelphia, in DC, anywhere, Orlando, whatever. The Mexican fan will always be there for their club and for their national team. And that's going to
Yeah.
be that's a sad reality, no? And that's why I see it right now. Cuando pasaba lo de la Libertadores en Sudamericana, that was beautiful because that was a whole, even me as an Americanista, seeing that Buffalo go, you get goosebumps, bro. You get goosebumps. In League's Cup, there's no goosebumps. In League's Cup, it's like a responsibility of like, damn, the Mexican team has to win. It's like it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel exciting, to be honest.
Yeah. Other than the economic benefit, it doesn't really feel. I mean, I still think, like I said, if Liga MX teams are not going to compete with the South American teams in Libertadores, and I think that's their best bet.
Yeah.
At the end of
Look,
the day,
if you're telling me
I don't know.
if you're telling me that by doing the League's Cup, teams like Puebla, teams like Toluca, teams like I don't know, Atlético San Luis, are gonna have better training facilities. Gonna have better stadiums. Okay, maybe that can be an improvement.
Yeah.
Because right now when we see what is because even Chivas right now it's a hot mess. Ricardo Peláez just left. It's like they don't even know what they're doing. They got probably one of the greatest hubs for Mexican talent, and they don't even know what they're doing. So
I
it's
think that's a
like
whole different discussion too.
it's a whole different
You make a
discussion.
point.
But if Chivas gets more money, what are they gonna do with that money if they don't even know what they're doing right now? So it's like so many things here to think. But that's my opinion. I mean, I think, and like you said, Oscar, I've been on both sides, so I'm able to see a little bit. Of course, there's many negative things in Mexican football, but I don't see how much growth for Mexican football is in this tournament. I really don't see it. I mean, it's just sort of like I don't see that much. There's more growth if like there's descenso y ascenso en Liga MX maybe. There's
And that's
more
coming
growth
back,
there.
hopefully, apparently.
Yeah, we'll see.
I was just gonna add, let me just again, devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
One of my tweets that I did send up, let me read it out because it's.
Or
it's
do you
perfect
want to
we're
share it
talking.
on the screen or no? Or just read it out. Read it out.
Yeah, I'll read it out. It's right here. It's better on my phone. But I basically said, of course, when I want to show it, I have my Wi-Fi is super slow. But basically, I said, the Leagues Cup is looking nothing more than a cash grab for the Liga MX owners and everything. But once the tickets come to the Northeast to Boston, I'm buy it.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I think to put it into like another perspective as well, I don't know how many partidos moleros have you been to, Nayib? I know Mexico gets to go to Texas a lot.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I like to say I've been to 2 of them, but you can't really count them because I got Brazil and I got Portugal with all the starters. Everyone came, Cristiano, everyone, and then peak Brazil too when they had Ronaldinho, Kaká, everyone came to Boston.
Look, and
that was my
when
first time
when you bring
being
those
presented
things
to go
up,
see it.
my favorite childhood memories are going to those Molero games. The Mexico games that I went to. I went to many America games. I went to many as well when they came to the States. And that's beautiful. The opportunity to see,
especially if you're like someone who introduced you to, like my dad, my family, they took me to go see
So
the national
that
team.
I understand that part. That part
And there's
is fundamental.
there's that beautiful
But
aspect to that too.
yeah, that's more sociological. It's not so much sporting. That's more a sociological thing, I think, in my perspective. It's more, being. It's like a little piece of Mexico comes to you nearby, so of course you go to that because you want to feel part of. You
No,
want to feel that you're
I
in
know
Mexico.
definitely, but it's hard for me to criticize because, like I said, like I'm a
Yeah, yeah,
hypocrite. I'll go to it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
hard because I understand the people who go to those matches because it's something to them. And at the end of the day, I don't think the Mexican Football Federation does it because people like me and my family, they definitely do it more for the business.
Yeah.
But it's something to be noted, and I think so. But I don't know. It's a
It's a
complicated
tough
topic.
topic. The reality is this is the new reality of Mexican football. The Liga MX MLS alliance will only keep growing and growing. A lot will depend on how successful the Leagues Cup will be. They're already promoting it as this, mini World Cup. I think that the fact that both leagues are not gonna play games, it's gonna be solely focused. I think is gonna add a lot of excitement. Let it be known. I'm really intrigued how the reaction will be in Mexico, of how much interested it might awake from there. But look, it's not the same. I really think that if there was no games down there, then it's a little bit pointless, to be honest. Because I do, like, we saw the stadium, we saw an Azteca filled up, we saw an Jalisco filled up. You got to include the other side too. That is very fundamental. No, it's not just one side.
I agree. I mean,
But
but again, just to defend them a little bit, like I don't want to defend them, but it's the reality too. Remember when we were talking about the national team should not only just play at the Azteca, they should be able to play somewhere else too. Granted, when they played in Tigres Stadium, they had a great turnout, but
yeah,
they played in Torreon 30K Stadium and they didn't fill it up.
yeah,
When they go to like a Chicago or Texas, fill up a 60-seater. At the end of the day, the federation is gonna prefer the money rather than going to the fans in
yeah,
that
yeah,
aspect
yeah.
too. I'm not saying
But
it's the
also,
Mexican.
yeah, yeah. But
That's a whole
also,
other
also,
discussion. But
also,
still,
also, also, the Mexican fan down there, they're a little bit fed up as well, no? And
yeah,
and,
that's
and
true.
what
I
they
think
see
they're
on the
more fed
field.
up more than us
Yeah,
up
yeah,
here.
and
But
especially, if they're selling a ticket for 700 pesos,
yeah,
700 pesos, it's 700 pesos. No, it's
and that
not.
doesn't include transport, food and
Yeah,
beverages if you want to take your kids, and then
yeah.
depending the
So
stadium you want to go to. Like
exactly.
you've lived in Mexico City now. Getting to the
Uh-huh.
Estadio Azteca is a horrendous experience.
Well, you need to know your ways. You gotta be with a local. It's not easy to just hop on a Uber and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
it's possible. It's possible. It's a little bit arduous job, but it's possible. But yeah, I think that's a good episode for this week. Really want to thank everyone that has watched. I really hope that this is a really opinionated one. So comments are appreciated. I think we did vent out a little bit what we think about what's going on with this alliance, or allegiance, or however you want to call it, this connection that is here to stay, because it is. And then next week we'll tune back in and see what we can offer to you. So thank you, Oscar, for your time. Have a nice week, everyone.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.